So you're going to show us a little bit more about how a data scientist uses a Cazena cloud data lake for the sort of tactical part of data modernization, which is doing the work, doing the experimentation, wrangling the data. Is that right?
That's correct, Hannah. So what we have done is we have actually created an environment where anyone can join in and give it a whirl and see how Cazena's Instant Data Lake could help you out. So let's get started. You just go to cazena.com and click on this handy button here to try it. What we have done is our entire this data lake is we have connected with a single sign-on system, and just for convenience, we have tied it to your LinkedIn login. So it's as easy as just clicking on this and then provide your LinkedIn login. And now you're looking at our data lake. Now, before we jump into the actual data science task and notebooks that all data scientists love to use, I just wanted to piggyback on something that Luann mentioned. You mentioned something like all this grunt work, all these crucial tasks that need to happen behind the scenes, things like authentication, authorization, encryption. I just want to kind of highlight some of those things, how we do those things for you so that data scientists and data engineers can focus on analytics and not have to think about authentication. So as you saw, we allowed you to log in with LinkedIn. Again, that was just an example here. In a production data lake, you would probably connect using your own Active Directory login, or use any of the single sign-on system that you might be using in your corporation. So we include this single sign-on authentication. You also have the ability to use any of the applications that you might want to run, engines like Spark or Hive or Hue, and so on. We also make sure all your accounts, AWS Cloud account setup is done for you so that you don't have to worry about this. You don't have to worry about getting your S3 buckets encrypted or setting up the Glue catalog, which is the shared data catalog, or having KMS keys that are used for encryption. The other thing that's also handled here is that all your data resides in a private virtual or VPC in AWS account. Having said that, it can still connect to your enterprise through secure IPsec firewalls. So all you're getting, everything that you're getting here is that not just the data lake itself, but everything that does the optimization around it, so that you can focus on the task at hand, which is running the data analytics task. So having said that, let's look at an example of what we have set up here. We have seeded this system with a kind of a starter notebooks for you to get a feel of how you can run many of these data analytics tasks. So again, once I log in, you'll see the familiar Jupyter Notebook. Once you have this, again, this is we have a simple example here where we are going to load some of the, or we're going to read some of the data that we have in S3 and be able to explore it, run some machine learning model like XGBoost and run some predictions. So that's what we're trying to do here. Again, in the interest of time, we might skip some of these steps, but again, this is publicly available and you are able to run any of these tasks yourself. One thing I want to quickly show here is that all of this data is also saved in a Glue catalog. So anytime you want to run any of the queries, you can just use something like Presto to quickly explore the schema or explore the data as you see fit. So after you have the data ingestion, you typically do browse. So again, you can, as I said, you can just run simple SQL queries to browse this data. Next, if you want to do any kind of exploration, this example, what we are showing is how to load this data. And again, we have about 55 million rows in this data set. And typically a data scientist would do some kind of a smaller data to explore first before they choose a specific model to run on the entire data. So in this example, we are using something like pandas to process just about 1 million rows so that we can still explain or prove our hypothesis on the model. There are a few more examples on how you can actually clean data using pandas, be able to run visualizations very quickly and very easily. And finally, once all of this is done, maybe you want to do some feature engineering. For example, in this data, we don't have the distances between the pickup and drop-off locations. So maybe you want to calculate the distances. Maybe you want to calculate distances to individual airports because, let's say, the taxi fare to the airports is fixed. So once you add that kind of data, the next step would be actually running XGBoost in this case. So you could use any model you want. We could also plug in with SageMaker if that's what you want to use, and be able to run and train these models and then finally make predictions. So this is an example of using something like pandas for a small data set. In general, once you have kind of explored and proved your hypothesis, you are probably going to use something like, say, Presto or Spark. So we have another example where we do this in Presto. Again, what this is showing is instead of handling just these 1 million rows, we are actually processing the entire data set, which is 55 million rows. It's not going to fit in the memory, and that's when you want to use the power of the cluster that's already that's already been created for you. So this is using Presto, and what it's doing is, again, I'll probably quickly go through this and show the count that we have on this data set. So once this data is loaded, we'll have about 55 million rows in this training data set. And if you look at the training fields that we have added, is that we not only have the original data, but we have also added additional fields like distances and so on, as well as hour and day, because again, our hypothesis is that the fare is somewhat dependent on distances, hours, days, because it might depend on weather and so on. And again, if you want to run any visualizations on this larger set of data, that's also very easy to do. Once this is done, all of this data is available in your shared data catalog. So the next step would be using something like Spark to be able to run any of the ML models. Again, what we do here is that because we have tied this with a single sign-on system, we don't need you to provide another Kerberos login. So you can just simply do this, run this utility function to do the login for you, and be able to run any of the Spark ML jobs. And again, this is using the decision tree regressor model that is included in Spark. But from the data scientist's perspective or the data engineer's perspective, you don't have to worry about where the cluster is or how to authenticate or how to encrypt the data. All that is taken care of so that you can focus entirely on the task at hand, which is data analytics.
And I think that is an awesome point right there, Durgesh, which is that the data scientist doesn't have to worry about any of that other stuff, and they could just work with the data like you've been showing.
Absolutely. And again, this was just a quick glimpse, but we invite everyone to come up and come and see this, give it a try and try it out. If you want to see even more of this, the use case that I explained, you can always view this screencast as well. But give us a call if you want to provision a cluster for yourself and try it out.
And I'm going to ask you the same question that we've heard from our other speakers today, which is, what does data modernization mean to you, Durgesh? What do you think that means to somebody in your role?
Yeah, I'm probably going to reiterate what both Mayank and Luan mentioned, is that it's the variety of data, variety of sources, as well as being able to not only work with your legacy platforms, but be able to open to newer paradigms on how the data is processed. So not just you moving to the cloud for, say, cost, but also being able to use all these modern technologies that are available, whether they are technologies like Snowflake or this convergence of data lake and data warehouse into one unit. I think being able to use all of that data, all of those technologies together and not be focused only on the legacy platforms. That's what it means to me as modernization.
Well, that is a great answer. I really thank you for doing this live demo. We did the live demo. We made it through. And hopefully we're seeing the screen now. I know this is a new format for a lot of us. So thank you for joining us here in the Cazena Cloud Lounge. This is a monthly virtual event where we'll look at a variety of different topics. For next month, we'll already have a date established. If you have any questions or if you have any ideas for upcoming themes, please let us know. You can always go and do some of what Durgesh did on Cazena.com/try. You can do all of what he did if you know how to do it, which is a big if for some of us. And I invite you to get in touch at Cazena.com. You can check out our blogs, check out other resources there. So, from all of us at Team Cazena here, thanks for joining us in the Cazena Cloud Lounge, and we'll see you back here next month. So, this is Hannah for Cazena signing off. Thanks again for joining us today.